My name is Joe Ellis, and today I'm going to be talking to you about rapid web prototyping with lightweight tools. I'm actually kind of basing this talk off of a talk that was given in PyCon in 2013, and it's kind of the way that I learned to build web applications. So I come from a math and electrical engineering undergraduate background, which in short means I used a lot of MATLAB and a lot of C++, which both do very little with the web in general. And so I didn't know how to build a website, how to interface with a website or anything like that before I kind of came here and got interested in multimedia and doing things on the internet. And so the tools that I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about are, as a database, MongoDB. We won't go too much into it, but it's very lightweight, nice, easy to get up and running. Jinja, which is a templating engine for Python, and it's used to render HTML templates, but you can write some Pythonic type code within these templates that make creating those templates easier. And finally, Flask. And Flask is actually wrapping WorkZug and Jinja 2 together to create a micro web framework that makes it pretty easy to build web applications. So with very little web development background, I was able to build the application that I'm going to show you in pretty much one night and then host it on a web server, Heroku, in one other night. So it was very quick and easy to build, which was really nice. So this is the app. It's called Food Tracker. Oh, no. OK. So we'll normally, on a general, like a phone screen or something like that, I build this to be the size of a phone. So it shows up nicely. It doesn't on this, but I'll just type in some stuff. So there's a username column, a food column, and then it's being cut off by the screen. But there's also, is this a food or alcohol expense, a meal description expense, and then the price. So you can actually, I'll type in food. It's going to be lunch, and the price will be $10. And so this takes in what I just implemented and then stores it in a MongoDB database. And so just kind of what I'm doing here is tracking my average cost for food, money spent today, $12, the average daily spend this week and this month. I calculated those so that once you spend for a week or spend for a month, they're accurate. I've just started this up today. And then also stores the complete list of meals and drinks that you've tracked with the website. So you can see I started tracking the Crucial Python user yesterday for this talk. And so I ate some falafel and meat for breakfast and lunch. And I had breakfast eggs, and I had lunch for $10. So it's really nice, easy to use. And then you can just go back to the meal and load something else up again. The other website that I built is an annotation tool for videos. I work in video multimedia engineering, so I wanted to get some annotations for some videos. So we can enter the annotation username, and we'll see a couple of videos will be displayed. You can play them. Is this person speaking John Kerry? No. There's only one person speaking this video. No. There's John Kerry there. Anyway, so we can take video annotations here, compare the videos, which person in the video depicts a higher level of valence, which is their sentiment of the video, say they're equal in both videos, either the same, and which one depicts a higher level of arousal. So what we're doing here is we're ranking videos based on sentiment and arousal, and then submit, and we can bring the data down. If we want to annotate more, we can click it again. So these are two very quick web applications that I built with Python and Flask, and now we'll go into the code a little bit and show you what's going on. So first, this is the structure on the left-hand side. I'm using Sublime Text, the structure of the application. So we have an app.py, which runs the server right here. So from Flask, we're importing the Flask module and then some other modules that we're using here. And then we're also importing a manager module, which just manages the application. So you start the app by just declaring app equals Flask name. And so this is kind of like the if name equals main type statement here. And then I put debug on true so that if anything goes wrong in the app, it'll actually display what goes wrong in the HTML web page, so you can look at what's going on and what happened. So this is kind of nice. The Python, the decorators that are used here actually go back to the website URL. So if we go back and look at our website here, this first URL, this is the first page. There's no slash. So that corresponds to this function right here. And so what we're doing here is we're returning a rendered Jinja template where the index is jinja2.html and the message is now let's get tracking, whatever. So that what that does is that renders this Jinja template that we have here. And so to discuss about HTML templating, we have a couple of templates. This is the layout template. So this is the baseline template that everything is based off of. So it's kind of like the building block. And then each of these other ones says extends layout to .jinja.html. So what that means is from all of this, we have these things that are within all of them. And then it extends. This is some JavaScript code down here. And some of our CSS code is stated actually in this page. So once we have this, there's a couple of things that are really nice about Jinja that makes doing stuff easy, is we have macros. So they kind of look like Python code, as you can tell, and they're in these little squiggly brackets here, which denote the beginning of the macro and the end of the macro. So if there's an error, we pass the error back. These are inputs, and so from the front page, what you saw was where we inputted the data, such as the name, the type of the meal, the description of the meal, and the price. And so the idea here is we just make one macro for each input, and we're able to go down into the body of the page, which is the actually displayed HTML, and just call these macros here with input. So you can use variables. So we have name, description, the type, and then the placeholder. All of these are here. So the first input is username. This is the text that's displayed on screen. Enter your username. So it's really nice and makes designing websites a lot easier when you can use these macros to kind of template out portions of the website. We also have a macro for a button, which is a submit button, and you can see that here. And it submits back to this form. And so now, just to look at this HTML format, we have the method is post, and the action is to tracked meals. So that will submit all of the information in these inputs when you push the button to this action, tracked meals, in the form of a HTTP post message. And we can see, go back to the app. This is the tracked meals section. So this decorator sends to tracked meals, and the methods it has is post. So if the request.method equals post, then we have this request object from WorkSug, which is all of the data that came back from that form within the HTML page. So it's really easy and nice. All you have to do is a couple lines of code, and you can just collect all that data from the web page and bring it back to your website. And then once we have that, we take all of the data from the meal info, check if it's food or alcohol. If it's not a food or an alcohol, something different, you shouldn't be doing it. And so we actually re-render that original template with the message, you have to enter food or alcohol, or render the template, the price that you entered is not valid if the actual meal price that you enter is not valid. So it's really nice and easy. It's only 3 or 4 lines, and you can just make a working web application there. From there, we have database utilities that I've built, and these are just inserting the meal. I assume a lot of you have seen stuff like this, how to interact with a database, but this is just inserting the meals into the database and then bringing it back out. This is the insert meal section. So checks if the user is there, and then inserts the meal if that user doesn't exist, and if it does exist, it adds it to that user. So every username you can build and keep track of all of the meals that you enter. Then there's a definition, you get the meals and then get values for the display. So then we'll go through the final HTML page and show some of this. So this is, once again, you can see some macros here. This is from the second page that I showed you. It's the average calculation. So this HTML page, that shows the average of the average money you spent per day, per week, and per month. And then we also have what I think is really nice is an entry for tables. So within this macro, you can see there's a for loop. So what we do is we query the database, bring back every entry that this person has logged within our system, and instead of having to type out an HTML for that or anything like that, you use just pretty much Python functions for entry and entries, and you create a table line right here. So those are the lines that we saw earlier within the table. If there's only one entry, then if the food type is alcohol, it has one certain color, and then if it's not, it's also a different color, and you can just use Python if statements within the HTML to render stuff like that. And then towards the end, you can see this is the actual block. So this is where these macros are called. So we have the average section here, average section there, and then the entries table down at the bottom of the page, as you remember seeing. So that's the end. That's a very quick, rapid production of websites and how to prototype them and kind of get your ideas out onto the internet quickly. Thank you for your time and listening, and I'd be happy to field any questions. Any question?
So you deployed this on Heroku, so you can
access
it from anywhere?
Yeah, so I actually have it here. So this is it on Heroku. That took me another night to kind of figure out where I wanted to deploy it, what to do. You have to alter stuff slightly, but it's very easy. So yeah. So if any of you want to track your food expenses, foodexpensetracker.herokuapp.com. It's free. Yeah. No problem. Yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks.